All right, so let's get started with the screen flow use cases. So the very first category of flows we'll be doing is screen flows. What this will do is I could have easily started with record triggered flows so that you could understand how flows work, but I want to start with screen flows so that when you jump into record triggered flows, that bit is easier. And uh, in your average development life, you'll be creating more of record triggered flows than screen flows. So I want that bit to be completely understandable by you. So we'll start with screen flows. We'll look at how to use flows and then have user input in the screen and do some automation behind the scenes that will lead your way to record triggered flows and scheduled flows, right? Or auto launched flows. So the first thing we'll be starting off with screen flows. Now, what do screen flows mean? As in my flow types video, screen flows are wherever you need some background automation along with user input, right? Let's say you want a user to fill in a survey. Let's say you want them to fill in a feedback form. Let's say you want them to select some parameters that save the record with some calculations behind the scenes. Let's say you want to display some information. Let's say you want to categorically or display information in a filtered way. All those scenarios come as part of screen flows. Okay, so let's take a look at the very first use case for screen flows, and this is use case one. So use case one, when the user clicks on the show details button on the account, it shows the name, rating, and type of the customer. Okay, so this use case, again, like I have talked in the triggers playlist in my previous playlist, like, whenever you have a question, whenever you have a requirement, whenever you have a business use case, try to decode that use case in terms of what value does it provide to the business, what 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 is it that you want to do with it, and then visualize or think about how you want to strategize or implement it. Once you have that sorted in your head, you will be able to implement it well, right? So we'll try to decode this particular question. It says when the user clicks on the show details button on the account, what does that tell you? What is the object in concern? It is the account object, yes. What is the name of the button that you want to have on the account object? It is the show details button, right? And there's a user click involved, which means you have to create a button or more like a quick action. Now, where do you create quick actions in Salesforce? You create them in the record pages in the highlights panel, right? If you don't know what record pages or highlights panel are, we'll take a look at it very soon. Okay. And what should it do? When I click on the button, what should happen? It should basically show three things: the name, the rating, and the type of the customer. Okay, so who's the customer here? The account record is basically the customer. The account is in customer. Okay, so we'll start with the first half of the question. And what I've done interestingly is I've put out a challenge in every use case. What I want you to encourage, like I've already told, try to do this with me on your screen. Okay, pause the video, see what I'm doing, try to do yourself, and then come back to the video. Do it as an exercise that will build confidence when you are clicking things, when you are actually doing it on your screen. Seeing things is very easy, and when you see things you comprehend, okay, this is very easy, can be done. But when you actually do it, it takes some time to figure out what is where and where to be clicked. Since I have been working on a lot of flow use cases, I'm able to click things faster, find things faster, and write things faster. I want you to be able to do that, right? That's the end goal. So I've put on challenges. What will happen is I'll try to showcase you the first bit of the use case wherein it's a proper question, it's a proper requirement, and then we'll try to level up the requirement, and we'll try to put some checks. We'll try to challenge you in terms of, okay, can you do this as well? Okay, so for this question, we want to show some details on the page using the screen flow, using a button, and then on top of that, I have a challenge for you that this particular screen should only be visible when the customer tier is platinum. Okay, so it should not be, let's say you have three tiers, three customer tiers: silver, gold, and platinum. This should only be available for platinum users. Okay, that's a challenge. Let's get started on the use case. And what I want to do is I want to create a screen flow, right? Where do we create a screen flow from? We go to setup, and on the quick find box we click on the flows, which is under process automation, right? So to create a new screen flow, I want to use this new flow button, right? This shows me all the list of flows that are currently available, which are primarily from Salesforce. And I'll just click on the new flow button and I'll create a new screen flow for myself, right? So I want users to be able to input, right? So I'll choose the screen flow button option. Let's say create. That opens the screen flow interface, right? It has a start button, which is not clickable per se, and then it has an end button. And in between, I have this plus icon to add in my elements that I want to add and configure my screen flow. Okay. In our previous tutorials, we've talked about the toolbox, the resources, the kind of resources, the possible actions, but we'll discuss how to use them and where to use them. Okay, that is something that we'll start learning with this use case here onwards. Okay, now what do we want to do? We want to be able to show some key information about an account record to the customer when they click on the button on the record page. So essentially, if I were on an account page and if I open a account record, I should have a button here. Now this is your highlights panel, and I should have a quick action button here, clicked on which will open the screen flow and I will be able to see the details. That is the use case. Okay, let's build that. What do I need for it? I need a screen, of course, right? Because I need to display some information. Screen helps us display information. So I'll choose a screen element, and that opens up a pop-up wherein on the left hand side I have a section that shows me all the input elements and custom elements and display elements. Okay, I can choose any of these elements for my purpose based on the requirement. And then on the right hand side I have the properties of this thing I am currently working on. So if I click on the footer, it gives me footer information. If I click on the header, it gives me header. If I click on a specific element, it will give me the specific elements information on the right side. That's the working panel. Now the very first thing every screen or every flow requires, or anything in Salesforce requires, is a label and an API name. So I'll just say account information. Cool. Now always ensure that you have meaningful names here. Don't put test one, screen one, label one. Don't put those kind of things. That is something that is not efficient, and it is not something that is expected from a developer. It is always expected to write meaningful names any and everywhere, with right punctuation, with right casing, with right spelling, right? Try to ensure that. Okay, try to ensure that. It is a good practice. If you inculcate that, it shows a lot about you if someone else is reading your code or understanding what you've done. Okay, so a label and an API name has been set, and there are three sections to every screen. It has a header, it has a footer, and it has a body wherein I can drag and drop elements. See, I can drag and drop. I can click, drag, drop. I can do that. Okay, now I don't want to see the header. Okay, if I don't want to see the header, I have an option here that says configure header, whether I want to show it or not. See, this is something that is available as an option. So I'll just get rid of the header. I don't want to see the label. I want to see a custom label that I create. I'll just put something that's called a display text. What does the name display text signify? Just what the name says, display some text, right? So I'll drag and drop this guy here, and I'll say account heading. Okay, since this is an API name, I cannot have spaces here. So I'll just say underscore. Cool. And this is where I can put in my information. This is the thing. This is the space wherein I can put the text that will be displayed. So you see, as and when I type, it shows on the canvas. It says hello world here. Okay. So what I want to do is I'll say, here's your key account information. All right, I want to align this to the center. I want this to be a bigger size, and I want to add a bold element to it. Do I want to change color? No, I'm good with the color for now. I'll not change it. I'm good with the font, or let's say let's give it a Times New Roman font. All right, better. All right, I've just given it a font. All good, and I'll say done. I'll click somewhere outside. That creates my display text. That's one element that we have uh, worked on. Okay, and then you have the footer. Now a footer contains of three essential buttons. One, the pause button. Now, if you have a journey, let's say you are filling out a loan application form, you're filling out a loan dispersal form, you're filling out a verification, address verification form, you're doing a KYC. In such scenarios, you don't have just one screen wherein user is inputting their field, right? You're filling a very long survey. You might have 25 screens, you might have 16 screens. In that case, will you be able to sit through all of those screens at once? Maybe, maybe not. Correct? Now, in cases like this, you can pause your journey and you can come back later and resume it, right? For example, you completed step 3 of your bank loan dispersal application, and on step 4 it is asking you to scan some documents, add your signature and upload them again. You cannot do that immediately. You have to go and take a printout, you have to scan it, or you probably have to sign it, re-upload it and all of that stuff. So would you want to start the application from start? No, you would want to resume from step 4, right? That is something this pause button enables you to do in screen flows as well. Same functionality, same features. Okay, that's the pause button. Do we need the pause button right now? We do not, because we just have one screen to display for this use case. Will not complicate things for now. I'll just go to the configure footer and I'll just say hide the pause button. See, I can hide the pause button or show the pause button. Fancy? Great. The other two buttons are the previous and the finish. If you have multiple screens, you would obviously want to travel forward or travel backward. You'd want to go to previous screens to confirm, you'd want to go to next screens, right? Do we need a previous button right now for this use case? We are only on a single use case. So I'll hide the previous button also. And finally, the finish button is something that's either called next if there's another screen, or it is called finish. And if you want to give it a label of your choice, you can even use a custom label. So I'll just say, great, thanks, right? So it will be called great thanks here. All right. And it would be aligned on the right side. Cool. Now I can remove the previous and the pause buttons, but I have to keep either one of those buttons, either the finish button or the pause buttons, or else Flow gives me an error. Okay. Do you want to see me try that? Let's say I say hide next and I say done. Let's say this is my screen flow, okay, with just the basic information. Now, if I click on the save button, I give this flow a name. Now, again, ensure that it is a valid name. It is readable, it is understandable by someone, it has the right spellings. If you can ensure, that would be great. And then you can add a description if needed. Okay, let's click on the save button. See, it says cannot save flow, display account information. This screen has an error. And what is the error? You cannot set either the allow finish or allow back to false, but not both. So it says that you have to have the finish button or the back button. One of them should be there. You cannot have both hidden. So I'll just set the finish button back. So I'll say configure footer, bring back the finish button, and I'll say call it great thanks. That's why I just wanted to show you that. Okay, I'll say done. And now when I save my flow and I say save, this should save up. Cool. Now, an interesting thing you notice is as soon as I save the flow, it says that this is the name of the flow. See, you got a name, you got a version. It's called V1. It's the first version we have created. And then it is saying that the version 1 is currently inactive and it was last modified a few seconds ago. So it gives you all the audit information here on the screen itself. All right. Now, do you want to test the flow? How does it look like right now? Do you want to do it on the actual real-time scenario? Not always. You would want to test things first and then probably dump it into the records, right? So to be able to test it, Salesforce gives you a debug button. So if you click on the debug button, that opens up the flow screen exactly how it would look like on when you have dropped it in the canvas or the landscape. Okay, see, debug the flow. If you want to just see if whether there are any bugs or any issues with the flow, you can debug it. So it says whether you want to run the latest version. Yes, I want to run the latest version of every element, and then I want to see all the details, basically the debug details. All right, so I'll just say run. So you see, it says me that Himanshu, who's the currently logged in user, started the flow interview, and the current API version is 59 on which the flow is running, some audit information, and then any records that the flow was ready to create were committed to the database. But we have not done any database operations, so that's just there, it's not done. And it shows the display text that we showed with the center line, with the bold, with a bigger size, and with the black color. And then it has our button that says great thanks. Okay, when I click on the button, that completes our flow and there are no errors. It says that the screen was displayed and I chose the next button and it completed and it finished properly, all done. Okay, if there would be an error, it would show the error here and would be able to, we'll be able to debug it here. All right, if I want to run again, I can click here or I can click here. I can say run again. Okay, you can try and test it as many times as you want here, and when you're sure, then you can go to the actual record and put it wherever you want to put the screen flow. Now let's put the screen flow at the place where it is supposed to be present. This is the highlights panel. I want a button here, right? I'll just go ahead and say setup, edit object. So I want a quick action, right? So if I go to the object manager and if I go to the account object, because we are talking about the account object, I want to be able to create a button here, right? An action. So I'll create a new action. And when I create a new action, Salesforce gives me an option to choose a flow as the action element. Let's open this in Classic. This is a Safari problem. And if you see, it says that the object name is account. Now, what do you want to do? Do you want to create a record? No, I want to display a flow. So in this list, you'll see that the flow option is available. Okay, this is how you embed a screen flow on a quick action. If this is a question that you are looking an answer to, or this could be an interview question, how do you embed a screen flow on a record page? Okay, so I'll choose flow, and here I should be able to see my flow, but I'm not able to see it yet, right? Why is that? Because currently it is not activated, I believe. Let's go back to our flow. See, this is currently not activated, so I have to activate it for it to be visible to the Salesforce system. Okay, I cannot just see it on the action if it is not activated. Let's click on the activate button, and now if I go back and I refresh, and I choose the flow element, I see that my flow is showing up now. Use case one. Cool. I don't want a standard label type. I'll give it my label and I'll say show account details. This is again relevant because this will be shown to the user on the screen flow. I'll say save. So my button is created. Will I be able to see this button on the screen now? Yes, no? What do you think? No, I don't see it yet. Why? Because I've not added the button to this record page or this layout. So how do you do that? You go back to your account. How do you do that? Yes, you go to the page layouts and you go to the relevant page layout and you add that particular button to the page layout. Okay, so I'll go into this page layout and here under mobile and lightning actions, I'll search for my button, which is called show account details, and I'll just drag and drop it here and put it on the very start. Okay, so that we can see it. I'll save the account layout and now I should be able to see it. Yes, no, let's refresh. Let's see. Yes, I'm able to see it. Fancy. So when I click on this button, I should be able to see a display text with a header that is the label, show account details, and it is telling me here's your key information. Great, thanks. Okay, and when I click on this button, it closes the flow. Nice. See, you have been able to embed a screen flow on a record page with just clicks and just a basic setup. Okay, very soon, as and when we complete cover use cases, you'll be able to understand the power of flows, right? A lot of things that were done via code, that were done via process builders, that took a lot of time, are now being automated comparatively a bit more easier, which is why Salesforce is promoting flows like crazy, right? And it's trying to add all features in flow so that business admins, so that business analysts, even these people can, configure flows, and they don't need developers or they don't need architects to configure it, right? So that's the basic idea. But yeah, it's important to know what all things the flow can do, and this is the very right time to be able to master flows. Okay, nice. What do we see on the button right now? We see that here's your key account information, but currently it's not showing any account information. What do I want to see? Let's take a look at the use case. I want to see the name, the rating, and the type of the customer. So how do I ensure I see that? Okay, let's go back to our flow. I need to ensure that I get these three information about this particular account record. How do you ensure that? Now, the Salesforce flow has listened to our concern, and what Salesforce Flow provides is if you create a resource, which is a variable type, and you name it record ID, okay, and you just either create it of the text record type or you create it of the record type. Now, what is the difference between text and record? A text is a normal string, right? Whereas a data type record means an entire record. Now, what is a record? This particular record is a record. And what is a text? This right here is a text. Okay, so if you choose to create a variable with the name record ID, the I here being capital, the API name, Salesforce automatically binds the record with this particular variable, and you can use this record to display information. You can do that. Okay. Now, if you choose the text option, what you'd have to do is basically if you want to show information to the user, how do you show information when you are coding, or how do you show information? You have to query that information from the database and then you have to display the information that you've queried, correct? But now Salesforce does not want you to waste a query on it, so you can very well choose data type as record, and then you can say that I want this record ID variable to be tagged to an account record, and this should be available for input. Now, what is available for input and output? You want to inject something or you want to send some data from Salesforce to your flow. So you input that variable. Right now, I have the button here. Right now, this button should be able to figure out which record is currently in picture and what record ID should it contain. The record ID is available here on the record ID URL, on the record page URL. When I click on the button, the flow should be smart enough to take this particular record ID and assess which record I have currently opened my page on. Right? What should the screen flow display? It should display this name or it should display some other account name. That smartness should be there, right? That is a very basic thing that we need. So this is the variable that ensures that smartness is something that's the flow is capable of. Okay, now should this be just one record always? Yes, it should be one record in our use case. If you go ahead and say multiple values, this becomes a list of records and it will be capable of holding multiple records at once. But right now in our use case, we just want one record at a time, which is why the record ID will always be a single data type of a record with object account, right now. If it is a contact object, you'll choose the contact object here and ensure that it is available for input. Just creating this resource and saying done automatically enables this flow to capture the record ID information in the flow. That's it. You don't need to do any kind of queries. And now, how do you use this variable, the variable that you've created? How do you use it on your screen? Now, what you can do is you can simply choose display text, right? And I want to show the name of the account, right? So I'll just call it account name. And what do I insert here? I'll insert the resource. If you see, now I have a record single variable available, which is the name record ID, and it is of object type account. And when I click on the name, it tells me that you can choose any field available from the account object. See, and it has added the merge field here, and I can just say done. That's my first display text. Let's add two more display text, and I'll call it account rating. The API name is just for Salesforce understanding, and I'll say record ID dot rating. So I'm able to choose the rating here. And what about the third one? The third one should be another display text. It should be the account type, and I'll just say record ID dot type. So this is the account type. I'm able to see three information here. Let's say done. Let's say save as, save, and as soon as I click on the save button, you see the version is now v2. I've made some changes. It's a newer version. So that's how Salesforce, or that's how Flow take care of versioning also. Okay, since this is the very first use case, I'm giving you a broader perspective of how other things also work in the flow, so that as and when we keep moving on to more use cases, you don't have to worry about these small things. Okay, you already know now that there's versioning. Okay, let's say save, and let's debug it now. Okay, now I'll just get rid of this button page, this record page. I'll close this page, and let's say debug. Okay, now when I debug this time, you'll notice that I'll be asked to input a variable. You see this record ID, because we marked it as available for input. The flow is saying, can you give me a record ID or an account record? You see, you can pass the entire record here. And when you pass the entire record, now the flow is smart to understand, okay, this is the context variable that I need to work on. And when I click on the run button, you see that the name, the rating, and the type come from this particular account record. Nice. Let's go ahead and say, let's look at all accounts. Let's take a look at Himanshu M, right? Let's say run again. Okay, let's not run again. Let's say change inputs, right? I want to change the inputs and I want to choose Himanshu M, right? Is there an account here? Yes, it is able to search it, and let's say run. See, it has just the name. There's no rating or type. Do you want to confirm that? See, the type is empty and the rating will also be empty. See, there's no rating, there's no type. Now, when I put a rating here and I say warm and I say save, and I just go back here and I say run again, see, Himanshu M with the rating is showing up. Nice. And I say great, thanks. So this is how you have been able to associate a record ID with a screen flow, embed the screen flow into a quick action, and be able to display some information to the customer. Isn't that powerful? Yes, it is powerful. We are just doing a very basic snapshot of three fields, but if you want to do more details, if you want to show, hide information, all of this can be done. If you want to show a very green message that you have all your documents uploaded, success, you can even do that. You can add an image on the display text. Now, an interesting question to ask would be, why did I choose the display text input? Right? The display text input was chosen because I don't want users to edit the input fields. I just want them to see what the information is there on the account record, right? That's why I chose the display text. Okay, and that's why three display text. Now, if I want, I can also add some context here. I can say account your name, I can say your rating, and I can say your type. Okay, and I can say done. I can say save, and I can say activate. Okay, now let's go into this context here. Instead of seeing it on the debug mode, I want to see whether it works on the actual record page. I've shown you that it works on the debug, but let's see. I'll just refresh my page. I'll go to accounts and I'll go to I am a parent, and let's click on the show account details. Excited? Let's see. So see, I see that your name, your rating, and your type is showing up here. Right? No need of any queries, no need of any extra work, just one screen, one resource variable created and tagged to the record ID variable, and use that variable to show details. As simple as that. Okay, so I've been able to see this information. I'll say great, thanks, and that shows me my information, which kind of covers the use case that we had, right? So I'm able to click on the show details button and it shows the name, rating, and type of the customer. There is more that we can see, there's more that we can do, but as and when use cases come, will try to figure more of it. Okay, you might ask, Himanshu, what if the rating is not available, right? What if the rating is not available? Let's go to accounts and let's go to Himanshu M, and I say show account details. See, this says that your name, your rating, but your type is showing empty. Then why is it showing this information? This does not look neat to the customer. They have said that if the value exists only, then show it. Can we do that? Yes, we can do that. We'll take a look at it. Okay, cool. Now let's take a look at the challenge. I believe you have been doing this with me. You have been doing this with me, and you are at the same place where I am, right? If you're not, take a look at what mistakes you have made and what how things are different in my screen. Understand how I've saved it, how I've activated it, how things look like in my screen, and try to do it. It should not be a problem. It's very straightforward. This one right here. Okay. Now, what's the challenge for you? The challenge for you is that this screen should only be visible for platinum tier customers. Okay. Now, do we have a customer tier available here? Let's take a look at the object. I'll just say edit object and we'll create a new field. Let's say we'll create a new field. Okay. Object manager, fields and relationships, and I'll go to and I'll create a new field and I'll call it customer tier. Okay. And I'll keep it as a pick list field because I just have three values on the field. I'll say next. I'll call it customer tier. I'll say enter values. I'll say gold, silver, platinum. Now my flow should only open up for people who are of platinum type. Okay, I'll just say next. I'll say next and I'll say save. Okay, now let's go to Himanshu M, refresh my page. I should see the customer tier field here, right? I'm seeing the customer tier field here. I'll just say this field should be platinum. Okay, save. And let's go to I am a parent record and I'll just say it's a gold tier. Okay, now what I want is I want the show details button to be shown only for the platinum folks. But if you see, this customer tier is currently gold and it is still showing the account details button. I don't want these users to see it. I just want the platinum customers to be able to view this information. Okay, how do I do that? Now pause the video right here and try to figure out how would you do that. Okay, this is a task. This is a challenge. Try to figure out what are the possible ways. There are two possible ways that I think of. Let's take a look at how you do it. Pause the video here and come back once you're done with it. Okay. All right. I hope you have found a solution. If you have not, that's okay. Let's discuss it. Now, there are two ways to do it. The first way is I can do it on the button level. Okay. I can go to the edit page and I can do this on the record page level, right? If I click on the edit page button, this opens up the record page and I have this highlights panel here, right? So I click on the highlights panel and I have to upgrade my highlights panel to a dynamic action. Okay, so I'll say upgrade now. This will, I'll just say migrate it from, or let's just say start from scratch, or let's migrate it from the account layout. I'll just say next. I'll migrate all my actions from the account layout and I'll say finish. Now what this does is this brings in all the buttons or actions available and they are individually now available. They are not directly sourced from the page layout. They're sourced and now they are showing here dynamically. What I can do here is, where is our button? Our button is show account details. What I can do is I can click on show account details and I can put a filter here. Straightforward. I say add filter. The customer tier should be equal to platinum and I say done and I say done and this adds a filter. See this eye icon coming here, it says that there's a filter on it. It will not be shown to everyone. Now when I click on the save button and now I go back to my account record page, you will notice that Himanshu M record sees it. Okay, Himanshu M record sees it, but I am a parent does not see it. See, this is a gold tier, it does not see it. If I go to accounts and I go to I am a parent, sorry, I need to go to Himanshu M. You see this particular record sees the show account details button. That's one way to do it. Nice. This is about dynamic actions, dynamic forms. Salesforce has released, right? 3 or 4 features back, releases back. What's the other way? If I were not able to do it this way, let's edit the page again and let's remove the filter from here. Okay, I'll go to the highlights panel and I'll go to this button. I'll remove the filter. Let it this be shown to everyone. I'll just say save. Okay, let's go back and now this is being shown to everyone. This is what Himanshu M, who has the customer tier of platinum, showing it here. What about I am a parent? It is showing here as well. Can I do this via the flow? Yes, I can. So before showing the screen, I want a decision element. Okay, a decision element is something that lets you decide whether or not to do something. So I'll choose the decision element here and I'll check if customer tier is platinum. Again, see, user readable friendly message. I'll say yes, it is platinum. Okay, now outcome one is it is platinum. So if it is platinum, what is the criteria? I'll say that the record ID dot customer tier field, looks like I don't see the tier field here because I have not refreshed the screen and we created the field later, right? Let's refresh our flow screen. The field is not visible because we created after creating the flow. So now I'll put a decision node. So you see, this is a logical decision. I'll say, is the customer a platinum customer? Okay, and I'll say yes, platinum. What should be the criteria? The criteria should be the current record variable that I have in hand. The customer tier of that particular account record should be equal to platinum. See, flows are smart to give you all the pick list options also. If it is a pick list, it is giving you the options. Which value do you want to choose? You don't have to type it out. You can choose it from here. Okay. So either it is platinum or else non-platinum. This is the default outcome for everyone else. I just want to show it for the platinum folks. Okay. Let's just say done. Now see, two paths are created. Now which path do you want to traverse? You want to traverse the path of whether when you're a platinum guy, you should be able to see the screen, right? And if you're not a platinum guy, you should not be able to see the screen. That's what we wanted, right? Now, do I create the entire screen again here? No, you don't have to create it here. You can simply go back to the screen you created, click on the screen, and you have an option to either copy it, cut it, or delete it. So since I don't want to duplicate it, I will cut it from here and I'll click on this plus icon here. It will automatically paste. You see how the movement happened? See that? Saw the animation? Fancy? So that also reduces some work. Okay, so you're good here. You've just added it on the yes node, and now if the customer is not a platinum customer, it will just come from this path and it will end it here, right? I'll just say save, activate, and now let's look at I am a parent record. What is the customer tier here? It is the gold customer tier. Let's refresh. Right, now let's click on the button. So you see, it just says that your flow finished because there was nothing to do, nothing to show. But if I go to Himanshu M, which is a platinum customer, right, and I click on the show account details, it is now showing the details, and then it will click on the button and it will complete the flow. All right, so this is how you can use a decision parameter, not the right, not the complete UI experience. Why? Because I have shown you this because you might have another screen that you want to display here, correct? So this is when decision nodes come in handy. Okay, now you can either choose to keep a common end node here, or you can also call this end node here. Let's close it here. That's okay. That's okay. We'll leave it here. But the reason I showed you the decision node is because you might have two different screens to show to two different kind of customers, right? You might have n different decision nodes and show n different screens. Can you do that now? Yes, you can, using the decision node. Correct. So a decision node lets you choose what path do you want to go to, with what variables and with what input or what output you want to show to this user, and then you can accordingly end your flow. All right, so this is a very neat, a very small flow that we created as use case one, and I hope I was able to deliver a lot of information. Take a look at this particular use case one more time or two more times, because I've given you a lot more information which will be handy for the next use cases. All right, and now we will try to jump into the second use case. All right, see you in the second use case video. Thanks.